Story 1. Wife needed an emergency cesarean section, and now the newborn is in the neonatal intensive care unit. Hoping both mother and baby are okay. Story 2. I lost my boyfriend to cancer a few weeks ago. He was only 31. It was so fast the doctors could not do anything for him. My heart is shattered. He was such a good person. Funny, kind, and caring. He deserved better. Story 3. Moved to a new country and started a new job. It is a lot to handle, and I hope it gets better once I am settled. Story 4. Severe and disabling long coronavirus disease for about 2 years already. Story 5. Mood swings. Suicidal thoughts. Possible anorexia. Maybe bipolar disorder. What is that Fyodor Dostoevsky quote? I have a new plan to go mad. Yes, that. Story 6. All of it sad to say. It ebbs and flows, and right now I am just surviving. Story 7. I am an autistic mother who is doing her best for her children. Unfortunately, this involves relentless cycles of burnout and optimism. It becomes tiring. Story 8. My mother is moving to hospice tomorrow. Watching her decline has been very difficult, and I expect to experience trauma from it. I am also 28 weeks pregnant. Story 9. $2.7 trillion spent annually on war to feed the poor 40 billion. War over hunger? 28 million vacant homes increasing in value every year owned by the banks. 700,000 homeless. Profit over people. The ultimate hypocrisy in protection. They do not have to increase the income of everyone. Just give out their breadcrumbs. Why make more weapons when you can feed and house people for next to nothing and reduce their need for a weapon in the first place? Story 10. I am from a war-torn country and the only person in my family with a job. We have all been separated into different countries due to visa issues, and it is becoming increasingly difficult to take care of everyone without the comfort of proximity to balance the pressure. I miss the simplest things, like asking my mother to braid my hair when I cannot be bothered to brush it. Story 11. Courts deemed my 5-year-old daughter not competent to stand trial regarding the sexual abuse by her father. He abused all of us for almost 10 years. He threatened to kill me in front of the children and held a knife to my throat as well. The children are still scared a year later that he will kill me and harm them. Yet the courts want to therapeutically reintroduce him into the children's lives. We are now left trying to find the best solution to our problem. There is zero justice, and the courts only continue to re-victimize us. Story 12. I have autism, and ever since I started learning to be more assertive, I have been losing people left and right. People really do not like it when you finally stand up for yourself. They do not care at all, and I am the one left in pieces. I recently told my psychologist that it is not worth it, and she told me to continue. I just feel so lonely and like I do not want to go on living anymore. I have never met a person who just listens and says, I am sorry. I will not do that again. They always try to manipulate, guilt, get angry, or do whatever. Story 13. Horrible breakup, loss of friends, and just trying to make it in this scary, lonely world. Story 14. Newly diagnosed breast cancer, at least stage 2. Waiting to do a full-body magnetic resonance imaging scan to see if it has spread to the rest of my body. It is torture waiting 3 weeks not knowing if my body is covered in cancer. I am 31 with 2 young children. Story 15. My wife died by suicide 2 years ago, and I miss her every day. There is a void in my life that can never be filled. Story 16. I suffered a spinal cord injury due to medical neglect 3 weeks ago, losing a lot of independence and becoming a burden on others. I also found out my estranged mother has terminal cancer, and she is already gone mentally, so there is no opportunity to make amends before she dies. I feel so alone. No one seems to care. I cannot do this on my own, yet here I am. I really just want it all to end at this point. Story 17. There was an 11-year-old autistic child who went missing in our small country. He was found recently, but he was not alive. He drowned. Our country has close to 6 million residents, and the probability that someone could have saved him is quite high. What upset me is a comment on a social media page about his death that said, I hope it wasn't the boy we saw at the beach earlier. This is making me very angry. and I am now acting out. I am losing my temper and losing faith in people. I fear this event will make things worse. Thank you for reading. Story 18. Started an exercise and meal plan to lose weight, but my agoraphobia and anxiety have prevented me from going to the gym. Story 19. Sitting by my father's deathbed for the last week, watching him slowly drift further away. Story 20. Tired of restarting my life over and losing people. I'm tired of not knowing where I stand with others. I'm tired of the constant challenges. I just don't want to be another person's option. I want to be chosen for once. Waiting to see the doctor, to find out what is going on. Shouldn't be too long now. My situation will be resolved. But in the meantime, it's stressful not knowing exactly what is happening. I'm trying to be optimistic. I just want some arms to fall into and to be held for a while. Story 21. Fear of what is to come in the future and the uncertainty of how I will adapt to it. The decline of common sense in people, the riots against immigrants. I am growing up and I cannot stop it. But I have stopped loving myself and I cannot take care of myself. My mother is growing old and I will have to take care of her very soon, but I cannot now or in the near future because I am studying medicine, and I do not know if I will succeed. I cannot bring myself to dedicate time and effort to studying because I am scared that I will fail and it will all be for nothing. I am too scared to live. Story 22. I have applied to many jobs with either no response, rejection, or being ignored after interviews. I am working on my master's degree and struggling to afford it. I feel mentally and emotionally drained. My family is disappointed in me and how I have turned out. I am just exhausted. Story 23. I am a retired nurse who has seen many things, so I always carry an underlying anxiety about health issues. I have to say it is the difficulties and suffering of so many others in the world that seem to weigh most heavily on my heart. Wishing peace and comfort to all of us. Story 24. I lost my job 2 weeks ago and have absolutely no way to pay bills. I have no idea what to do and no job prospects at the moment. I am genuinely terrified. Story 25. Just found out my boyfriend of 5 months has been cheating the whole time. He helped me through my separation from my cheating ex-husband, only to do the exact same thing to me. I am trying to find a way to kick him out of my apartment, which we signed a 1-year lease for. Story 26. Feeling pathetic. I make decent money, but the cost of living is enormous. I want to find a partner, but I keep focusing on money. If I am barely making it, then what if she wants a child? What are her financial expectations? It is stressing me out daily. It will only get worse in the United States. I imagine many will lose their homes in the next few years. A friend of mine has 2 master's degrees from an Ivy League school, and for the first time in his career, he has no jobs lined up. One client has not paid him in months. We have so much debt across the country. Mitt Romney only built Bain Capital by convincing banks to write off debt. At what point do we start doing the same for the middle and working classes? Story 27. Uncertainty about my future. I am still stuck and unsure of what I want to do. I feel lost and fed up with how the world is. Everything feels difficult and out of reach for me. I do not know anymore. Story 28. Would we be better off moving back to my home country? Could the children, one of whom is autistic and does not cope well with change, handle it? Will we be able to find good schools for them? What would we do with the cats? What if being closer to my family damages our relationship? What if we go and regret it? What if we stay and regret it? How do we know what the right choice is? Story 29. I am afraid Donald Trump and Kristi Noem will cut my job at any moment every day since January 20th. I have watched many people in cybersecurity, including some of our most talented and smart individuals, just disappear. Story 30. I'm trying to move forward in my life, and it's hard because back in 2019, I fell in love with a man, and some events at that time were traumatizing. I'm stuck in the loop of what if. We had to make a choice. Baby or no baby. He threatened to kill himself if I didn't go through with an abortion. Pure panic. He wasn't there by my side when I needed him. Nobody told me how painful the process was going to be. I was completely alone when I took that pill. I was in pain. Later, I saw that he had the Hinge app on his phone. I never confronted him. After 3 years, he broke up with me by text message. I'm moving forward with my life, but I feel like I can't even enjoy things. He was cruel enough to come by my house one day and tell me his big plan to make a band, go to the gym, and become a better version of himself. I moved not long after. It helped, but I'm stuck in my head and the things he said. I can't get out of the house most days. Story 31. I am in love with someone who does not want to love me back. Story 32. I am going through so much. It's hard to focus and breathe. I am going through an amicable dissolution, but he has been in relationships since moving out. My soon-to-be ex seems to have a smooth-sailing life while I am struggling physically, emotionally, and mentally. I had an injury right before we were to go on vacation, and my ex did not want to spend life taking care of me as I would him. He said he wanted to have fun in life. The words "for better or worse" no longer seem realistic. In my relationships, I feel I was always a good person and wife. At least I tried. I was not perfect, but I have always tried treating everyone with respect and kindness. However, I never seemed to receive the same level of love, respect, and commitment in return. Perhaps my thinking about how relationships should be is off. My parents have been very successful in their relationship, being married over 65 years. I don't think relationships are the same as in their days. I feel having a loving, kind heart is not necessarily what men want in life anymore. In addition, my identity was stolen numerous times simultaneously, and now I am forced to go through bankruptcy, not due to any fault of my own. My boss treats me horribly. I do all of the work, but she shows no respect or appreciation and criticizes my personality for being a nice, supportive coworker, calling me a pleaser. Her mood swings are like a roller coaster, never knowing if she will be kind, yell and blame me for everything, or be very rude, condescending, and hateful, picking apart my loving, kind heart. My life has become insane, and I just want peace, love, joy, and happiness. I just turned 60 and feel very sad about being alone and starting over. I have lost my true inner happiness, spirit, hopes, and dreams. It looks like my forever and new normal will be living alone with my puppies and no children. Life will be good no matter what. With God in my life, how can it be all bad? Story 33. My dog has uncontrolled blood sugar lows and highs from diabetes. We only have 3 weeks to decide if we are going to euthanize him if his condition cannot be controlled. Story 34. Looking for a job so I can move out of this abusive and invasive household. I am also realizing that I will never be loved in this life, and it is very painful. I am glad I am realizing this now so that I can stop hoping. Story 35. Recovery from hematopoietic stem cell transplantation to hopefully cure my cancer. Story 36. After 5 years of being told my symptoms could not be multiple sclerosis and were likely psychosomatic, my doctor now thinks I have multiple sclerosis. I have been told so many things that I do not know how I can trust that this or any diagnosis is the correct one. I feel like they have been playing a game of darts with me. Story 37. Not enough money to enjoy life. I work to have somewhere to live, clothes to wear, food to eat, and to keep myself warm, but there is nothing left over and everything gets more expensive. In my case, I cannot improve that, so it seems too much sometimes. It is a daily struggle, and honestly, I am not really coping. I feel disconnected. Story 38. My best friend of 30 years died last week from cancer at 48 years old. Everything makes me angry and sad. Story 39. My partner and I are in a dysfunctional cycle. I am shutting down and withdrawing into myself to protect myself. Who he is currently is not what I need, and he does not know how to be what I need. I give up. I am slowly accepting it. At least I have a roof over my head and food in my stomach. But I may never know true partnership or love. I may never be truly happy. This relationship has brought many positives to my life, and I would have to give all of them up if I left. I cannot leave. He does not know how to change or grow. Story 40. My dad is on hospice, and we suspect he is in his final days or hours. It has been very traumatic, especially with autism. Change is difficult, particularly when filled with grief. Story 41. I am about to be evicted because I lost my job, and I do not have any family left. Story 42. Medical trauma was difficult. I was not taken seriously by doctors, and my surgery was delayed for too long. Now I am left with permanent damage that I will have to live with for the rest of my life, which makes everything harder both physically and mentally. Story 43. Today is the 15th anniversary of my nephew's death. He was only 1 day old. It does not hit me this hard every year, but some other events have occurred in the past week that made me more emotionally vulnerable than usual. Story 44. Constant failure after being a consistent top performer. Fear of not achieving my goals and having to settle for less. Not being where I wanted to be at this time and falling far behind everyone else. Story 45. I am dealing with the emotional and mental baggage from my childhood that my mother left behind when she died. I should not view it this way, but she escaped her pain while leaving me to clean it all up. Story 46. Job hunt stress. I can sense things changing for the better, though. Story 47. Husband is having problems with new pacemaker. We also lost our beautiful cat to cancer this week. She was 10 years old. Story 48. Fearing my 25-year relationship is coming to an end. I fear losing her, but also my life, home, children, and future. I feel sad and full of regret, but also unfairly maligned. Story 49. I had a really sick cat. I needed to make an appointment to put him down. I had actually done just that. Took me a long time to make the phone call, but they couldn't see him for weeks. I just couldn't make another phone call to a different veterinarian. Every time I tried, I would start tearing up, thinking, no, he will get better. He died. It's been over a month, and that feeling of shame and cowardice hasn't dulled. I let him down. I did what needed to be done for another cat only 1 year earlier. I was depressed. I hadn't really gotten over it, and having to put another pet down so soon after the last one definitely made it harder. But I won't do that ever again. Story 50. I am stressed at work every day, but I do not have a proper channel to express my feelings. Story 51. Thursday, I had to agree to compassionate extubation, which is the removal of a ventilator to allow a person to pass away peacefully, for my mom. On August 4th, she was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and declined very quickly. I thought we had a couple more days together, but that night the doctors called me saying her lung had collapsed again and that the ventilator running at full support was still not enough. We had said our goodbyes and expressed our love beforehand, but I will never forgive myself for coming in the middle of the night and removing her source of air. I know it was the right thing to end her suffering, but I can't help but feel like I killed my mom. Story 52. I think I have lost my parents to some unusual group in Alaska. Their main talking points are that Alaska has the least intelligent children in America and that teachers are promoting a progressive agenda and trying to make all children transgender. When I ask for reasons or evidence, they shut down and tell others that I am being hostile toward them. My sister has given up and just tells them not to discuss that topic. I do not know if I can simply ignore it. Story 53. Found out my partner has been abusing drugs since we met. He told me he was a recovering addict. Years of abuse, forgiving, and thinking he was fighting sobriety, while often blaming myself for not being better support. I think I am still in shock or in a daze, either numb or overwhelmingly depressed and anxious. I am not feeling much at the moment, but since I wrote this, I guess it is good to see I am not taking it lightly. I have worked hard to be a balanced and feeling person after a tough childhood, and worked hard in my adult life to repair and heal. This is difficult. Story 54. My stepfather passed away. He was not a good man, but he was kind to us at times, and my emotions are mixed. We had not seen him in years when we received the news. Then my favorite grandparent became sick, and my father is not handling it well. Also, work has become 10 times harder because of an incompetent boss. I feel myself going insane. I am tired all the time. Story 55. 5 months postpartum. Hormones are everywhere. I have the most beautiful baby, and being a mother is incredible, but I do not recognize my body anymore. Story 56. developing and figuring out how to manage daily anxiety with my job, where email responses should not cause mild panic attacks. Feeling very nervous for my children now that my oldest is in kindergarten, as school shootings are deeply distressing. Not knowing how to restore my body to a healthy condition. All of this occupies so much space in my mind constantly. Story 57. My husband and I need a new house. This one we are in is beyond help. We have an 8-month-old baby and are unsure where to turn or how to start. The house and land are paid off, luckily. Story 58. I lost a good number of my friends, social support, and hobby community. I am afraid it is my fault. I am just trying to be a good human being and get through a new life. Story 59. Work with my ex. A new girl commented on my 13-year-old cousin's post instead of directly messaging me. Girl, he cheated on both of us. Leave me alone. I'm trying to move on here. Story 60. Feeling completely flat. No energy, motivation, or interest in anything. Considering suicide. Story 61. Pregnant with my first child and scared because I do not feel maternal. I do not want my life or marriage to change or fail, and I feel really out of my depth. I am dealing with large fibroids alongside a growing baby and feel horrible in my own body. Story 62. Bad health, stagnant job, no friends. Feels like I have wasted my 20s doing nothing. Story 63. Losing out on a friend group. I am in the dark about it for the most part. I will miss them, I think, forever. Story 64. Degenerative muscle disease that doctors have not been able to diagnose for over 2 years. I found out the girl I was going to marry cheated and hid it for 2 years. I am just exhausted. Story 65. My cat has feline leukemia. In November, he was given a maximum of 2 years to live, but his health has been drastically declining this past month. We started conversations with the veterinarian about euthanasia a few days ago. My wife and I are doing everything we can to help him, but it is just not enough. We are hoping he makes it to his 6th birthday next month. Story 66. The separation between myself and my immediate birth family members has lasted for a year and a half due to going no contact. My parents and step-parents were overtly narcissistic and deprived me of full emotional support growing up. It is a daily battle not to blame myself or return to them. I hope that when my half-sister is 18, we can see each other again. She is 13 now and enduring similar emotional deprivation. Thankfully, we still talk on the phone occasionally. Story 67. Depression. I am going to see my doctor soon to find out if I can get a therapist and possibly medication for it. Story 68. Recently found out the extent of my ex-boyfriend's cheating, and it is much worse than I originally knew. I am heading back to therapy. Story 69. I have learned that my lifelong dream may be impossible due to health issues. At minimum, it will be years of bureaucracy and thousands of dollars in testing before I can even begin if I am allowed at all. Story 70. A job I hate and persistent suicidal thoughts and mood swings due to obsessive-compulsive disorder and potential borderline personality disorder. I am so tired. Story 71. I am extremely bored with life and overwhelmed at the same time. Nothing I enjoy is fun anymore, and I feel like I am wasting my life by being so bored. I have things to be happy about, but I can't feel it anymore. I have an appointment to get back on my attention deficit hyperactivity disorder medication, which I have not been on since I was a teenager because my parents shamed me for needing it. I have strange guilt about getting the medication again, but hopefully, it will help. Being diagnosed as a child and having my diagnosis essentially ignored by my family was very hard. Now that I am on my own, it has taken me years to even pay attention to it myself. Maybe this help will be good, but I am afraid. Story 72. I have had a rough couple of years, but the last year and a half have been particularly difficult. I left my narcissistically abusive ex-wife, dealt with post-separation abuse, and learned that she had an affair at the end of our marriage. I was sexually assaulted by a stranger, and I lost my job within 4 months of these events last year. I experienced a mental health crisis, found myself in severe poverty and facing homelessness, and had to humble myself by moving back in with my father in my home state, 1,000 miles from the state I had called home for a decade. I have been back here since February, started working my way back up, and then my grandmother, who raised me, was diagnosed with congestive heart failure a couple of months ago. She and my family have decided not to pursue treatment because she is ready to pass away, and now I face losing the woman I have seen as my mother within the next 3 to 5 weeks. It is very difficult here, but today I have hope, which I certainly could not have said a year ago. Story 73. Some serious but not life-threatening health issues that affect quality of life. Story 74. My grandmother passed away a couple of days ago. She was my last grandparent and an amazing woman. My cat passed away in April. He was my best friend. My anxiety has been increasing over the years, and it has become so severe that I am considering taking medication again. I would give anything to have a calm mind. Story 75. I was sexually assaulted and stalked by my neighbor who is friends with my landlord. Supposedly, I was making a big deal over nothing. I obtained a protective order. My landlord became angry that I was going after people he cares about, so he retaliated severely. He tampered with my mailbox, did nothing to ensure my safety, refused to address a rodent problem, used a racial slur against me, and attempted to evict me by submitting false documents to the court. I kept evidence and was able to prove my case, but I am still moving for safety. This situation has ruined my mental health, business, and overall joy. The worst part is that many people I thought were supportive blamed me, including my own brother. This has been a very lonely experience. Sea salt jalapeno chips with salsa verde dip help, though a spicy crunch. Story 76. Stockholm Syndrome applies to my job, though I can play the part when needed. Given a holiday weekend, I have a great reason to be a ghost. Everybody leaves me alone, and I have a valid reason to be in a depression nest, maybe an unhealthy rationale. Mental health is indiscriminate, and I hope you all get the break you need this weekend. Turn your phone off and take a nap. You have earned it. Story 77. Trying to keep up with everyone and everything and always feeling like I am doing enough. Story 78. My cat of 11 years disappeared and is unlikely to come home. Story 79. Dad passed away 9 years ago after I cared for him full-time for 5 years. I have a spinal cord injury and have difficulty re-entering normal life. I am mostly embarrassed about how I let things spiral. Story 80. My mother has terminal cancer and requires around-the-clock care. Navigating the American healthcare system is very difficult. When a parent is dying, but not quickly enough for insurance to cover inpatient hospice, can you afford $12,000 per month? Story 81. Stuck in a deep hole of depression and cannot get myself out. People say I am doing my best, but I am not. I am just existing at this point. Story 82. Quit drinking. I had been a drinker for 13 years. Not excessively heavy, but 3 to 6 drinks a night daily, which I did not know was considered binge drinking. In the last couple of years, I tapered off to 1 to 3 nights a week with periods where I returned to almost daily drinking. I have a beautiful young daughter, and I am terrified that I have damaged my liver. I do not have symptoms, but I have severe health anxiety about it. My lab results were clean, but I am going for an ultrasound. Story 83. Positive. I struggle with going to large public places such as concerts and conventions. I went to a concert this weekend with my boyfriend. I remembered my old self chose aisle seats, and I did not have a panic attack. This was a first for me in a long time. Story 84. The last several months have been incredibly difficult, and I dread every second of any kind of downtime for my brain, including activities like driving or watching television. All my hobbies went from being enjoyable to being a chore because it feels like I do them to escape the anguish I feel during mental downtime instead of doing them because I like to. Getting myself to start any task at work is a fight on its own, let alone finishing them. However, I have been seeking treatment since 2021, and after years of many challenges, trials and errors, and multiple doctors, for the first time in my 29 years, I was able to go through 1 full year feeling completely normal, genuinely content, and, most importantly, with real self-esteem. Sure, the past few months have broken down a lot of that progress, but that 1 year taught me I can make it back without getting too much worse. I try to remind myself that there is nothing to blame, and I do not need to look for something to blame my anguish on, and that is okay. I may be hurting again, but I will stay hopeful and believe in my ability to pull myself out. Story 85. I don't even know how to describe where I am. I live in a fairly small regional city where I arrived 10 years ago, and where my daughter was born 9 years ago. To be completely honest, I brought all of my bad habits and poor behavior to this city after more than 2 decades. I was a drunk and addict who had always played the victim and never really looked in the mirror. This was in my mid-30s. The birth of my daughter, alongside the death of my father and a failed marriage, finally prompted me to start thinking about change. I got sober in 2020, almost 5 years ago. The problem is, I had gotten into the habit of isolating myself from the world before I quit drinking. Until fairly recently, I continued to smoke large amounts of cannabis, telling myself I needed it and that it was natural and harmless when, in reality, it worsened my social anxiety and kept me from going in any meaningful new direction. I had setbacks, such as finding it really hard to get employment due to my criminal record. In hindsight, this confirmed my misgivings about society and my place in it, causing me to withdraw more and more. I gained shared custody of my daughter about 3 years ago, and I threw everything I had into caring for her. Eventually, I noticed how hard it had become to even talk to people. I also realized that cannabis had become detrimental to my mental health. Paranoia and panic attacks by that stage were through the roof. Anytime I could avoid actually interacting with anyone, I did, so I started trying to quit that for good as well. What I didn't realize was that I had cultivated a reputation as a reclusive weirdo, or worse. My ex has extended family here, and with my own eccentric behavior over the years, and generally avoiding everyone, I started to notice that people now avoided me. I can no longer ignore the way people are around me, and it just makes my social anxiety explode back to the surface. I constantly think about suicide, but I could never do that to my daughter. I end up just kind of existing from week to week, and I know I could be so much better. I just don't know how I am going to survive. I need a job just to keep our heads above water, but no one wants to hire me. I am studying social work but have recently learned that with my criminal record from when I was younger, I may never be able to work in the field, let alone finish my degree. I need a special clearance that I have just been denied after a 3-year wait. All these years of sobriety, and the fact that I have shown myself to be a responsible father, mean nothing. I feel so trapped, and I don't see a way out. Story 86. I quit my soul-sucking corporate restaurant job thinking I had something better lined up. My best friend with terminal cancer kept calling me throughout the trial day of my new job, so I didn't get it. I found this out days later. My boyfriend is possibly going to break up with me, and all his friends, as he says, are telling him to because I'm impulsive and always have some kind of drama one after another. I am one of the unluckiest people around. My ex-husband only lets me see my son once a week and won't let him sleep over. Also, I am dealing with a stomach disorder due to stress and now possibly lupus. Story 87. I have always said that my relationship was perfect, that he is the greatest person I have ever known. For 7 years, I never doubted it. But things are different between us now. A few months ago, he left home and did not call me for 2 weeks. He did not provide an explanation. It has been strange, and he is not acting like himself. Aside from the unusual behavior, he has grown distant. We are fighting all the time, and the dynamic between us has changed. I am not really sure what to do from here. I do not think I trust him anymore. I cannot rely on him. It has all just been a bit lonely. Story 88. I have major depressive disorder and, annoyingly, am objectively in one of the better times of my life, but that does not fix major depressive disorder, unfortunately. Story 89. I just started a new job that I hate, and I found out I am pregnant. I am super excited about this pregnancy, but I am trying to figure out the exit plan, especially since in the United States I have zero eligibility for the Family and Medical Leave Act because I will have been there for less than a year. It is difficult having a child in America. Story 90. My 19-month-old just got accepted into daycare. I have stayed home with him since birth, and I genuinely feel sad about this next stage of life. Story 91. My job was shut down due to tariff issues. I was laid off along with about 30 other people. I got a new job very quickly that pays a lot more. However, It is in a new city with a 60-minute commute to and from work every day. That, along with starting over, has me feeling a lot of anxiety. On top of that, I am soul-crushingly lonely and have been for a long time. Story 92. I love my partner, but I am exhausted. We are fighting because I do all the cooking, shopping, cleaning, and planning. We both work demanding jobs and just had a week-long staycation. I am just as stressed as I was before because I did not get a break from anything except the office. Story 93. My head is stuck thinking about the world situation. I am supposed to find a job. I should be talking more with family or I should be going out. But I am just on the internet in a strange freeze. Story 94. To be honest, I am returning to God but feeling unloved. I am hating myself. What I have been through for so many years has taken my town. People think I am a loser. No one seems to like me. I keep going back to addiction because my heart hurts so much. I have been in chronic isolation, and I have only just turned 19. I am heartbroken. Story 95. Not much, I just have a bit of lead in my bloodstream, so it makes my heart heavier than normal. Oh, not that kind. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.